Sometimes when things get dull and a little bit boring, the communication gets bad. You need something to spice it up. No, not like that. The NC State offense.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Wednesday sponsor is Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Happy Wednesday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. We're going to get straight to it. We're coming out of the gates hot. We have our Hump Day hot takes back again. I will start us off, and I'm looking at Robert Anae. And this is a little bit spicy for me in particular because I've been a big supporter of Robert Anae. I think what he did at the end of the 2023 season with the offense, he made chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what. And so far coming into this season, I think it's been a little bit disappointing. And so when you're looking at Wake Forest this coming Saturday, they don't have a very good defense. I'll tell you that right now. We'll talk about it more on Thursday. I need to see something from Robert Anae this weekend because if not, I think he might be looking a little funny in the light.
I've got an even hotter take for you. This Saturday will show us who the defense actually is. With all due respect to Northern Illinois, even when they beat Notre Dame, it wasn't a high-scoring barn burner where it was like their offense is just lighting it up, and that's how they won that game. They won that game by shortening the possessions and making it, or by having long possessions and shortening the game and making it really, really difficult on Notre Dame to score. However, they didn't have an offensive performance. It was like, that is indefatigable. That is something that you look at, hey, there's no defense for that type of offense. They just didn't produce in that type of way. So this Wake Forest offense, however, they may not be the most talented group in the world, but they are a group that they run that offense well. Brockenmeyer looks like he's been in that offense for years, the way that he's currently handling the long mesh and RPO situations that are produced by that offense. So with that in mind, I would say that this week is going to be a much better indicator than last week was in terms of who this defense is, who this defense wants to be, because this long mesh RPO situation, it forces you to be disciplined. It forces everybody to stay where you're supposed to be. If you get a little bored out there on the edges and you all of a sudden find your eyes in the backfield, boom, that's 50 over your head. If you find yourself being so antsy in the box, you're like, oh, no, I got to come up and make this tackle right now. Boom, tight end pop pass right over your head. If you find yourself as a defensive lineman saying, oh, I've got my gap secure, let me jump over in this gap, boom, the ball's going to find it. So I think that this game is going to force this team to show, hey, are we disciplined? Are we defensively sound enough? Are we in a space where we can be who we're supposed to be and be where we're supposed to be on a regular basis?
Yeah, piggybacking off of that point, I think this is the type of offense in Wake Forest that's going to put a lot of stress on our linebackers. And we've had several questions about the linebacker play so far this season. They had a really good showing against Northern Illinois, and it's so important that you build off of that performance. The confidence factor has to be extremely key moving forward. So I think you're absolutely right. I think you will learn a lot about the NC State defense this week. And earlier this week, we talked about them potentially having their swagger back. Perfect opportunity to prove it this Saturday in Carter-Finley again. Stacking those wins, like we talk about a lot, stacking wins, stacking days, stacking performances, that is so imperative for this team if they want to continue building upon, kind of rebuilding after those two devastating losses. Keep the confidence, keep the composure, keep the execution as high as you can possibly get it. That'll be super important. My second hot take, and it's not exactly a hot take, it's more of a demand. I need Justin Jolie to be our top pass catcher on Saturday. We've spent weeks now talking about how it looks like Casey's being targeted, in fact, possibly too much, so much so that it's starting to get a little bit predictable. Using him in motion and so many passes that he's receiving are very close to line of scrimmage. It just gets very drawn out and very predictable type of offense. With that being said, something else we talked about, in fact, more so last year, is the lack of tight end usage in the NC State offense. Something needs to change. And I think a great place to start is looking at a freak of nature named Justin Jolie. He's an incredible athlete and one of the most talented pass catchers you have in this offense. I want to see Justin leading the charge down the field against the Deeks.
My hot take, which I don't really think is a hot take, is that Caden Noonkester was robbed of Special Teams Player of the Week last week in terms of the ACC.
That might just be a fact.
It went to the kicker from Virginia Tech, and don't get me wrong, hitting multiple 50-yarders is impressive. But there are two reasons that I feel like I can't give it to you. Number one, your coach made a decision to go away from you early in the game, try a fake field goal instead of going up. What was it? It would have been 27-13 points at that point in time in the game. It ultimately ends up coming back to bite you because if your coach trusted you to make that field goal, guess what would have happened at the end of the game? You have an additional 3 points. Now, Grayson, how many points did Virginia Tech lose that game by?
4 points.
So, Grayson, I'm no mathematician. Neither of us are mathematicians here, but they lost the game by 4 points. If they'd taken the field goal, they would have been down 3 points. And what would they have been able to do from their own 30-yard or from Miami's 30-yard line to end that game off?
They would have kicked a field goal.
They would have kicked the field goal. Your coach didn't trust you enough or maybe your coach just got so cutesy that he lost himself the game by not trusting you, and yet you were the player of the week over the guy who put up nearly 400 yards worth of punts.
Crazy.
398 to be exact, 7 inside the 20. Field flipper supreme, that guy. So, I struggle to come up with a world where he didn't deserve player of the week, but I digress.
It's really easy to overlook the special teams play a lot of times because unless it's like a kick return or a super long field goal, they just don't get talked about that much. Caden Noonkester was arguably the MVP of that game against Northern Illinois. And we did talk about it earlier. I think it was on Monday. He changed the game for NC State. Being able to flip the field that many times and pin NIU way back in their own territory, that made a massive difference. Whether you look at the box score or not, Caden Noonkester was arguably one of the most important players for NC State all game long. And so shout out to Caden, shout out to Coach Goebel, who's in charge of running all the special teams. Special teams at NC State is something in general that has gotten overlooked for countless years. Year after year, they're such a strong unit, and they never get the recognition that they deserve. Shout out Coach Goebel. Shout out Caden Noonkester. Hopefully more of those top-notch performances moving forward. Coming up next, we're getting into the Locked On Look of the Week, looking at one of the most successful drives for NC State's offense on Saturday after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Wednesday sponsor is Gametime. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks, and it makes getting tickets for your favorite live events easier than ever before. Gametime Picks filters out all of the fluff to show you only incredible deals on seats, so you don't have to waste all your time searching through thousands of tickets. The curation of Gametime Picks makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, you name it, they got it. Toggling their all-in pricing feature will show your total up front so you receive zero surprises at checkout. And as always, you get that panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect upon arrival. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and again, create an account and use redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? You already know. It's game time. Middle portion of our Wednesday show. Now time for our Locked On Look of the Week, looking at arguably the only successful drive for NC State on Saturday. Kenton, what do you got for us?
All righty. So we are going to look at all aspects of the second and final pass completed to Noah Rogers on the game, which is one of our biggest offensive plays of the game. So what we're looking at today is a pistol formation, zone left. It's supposed to be a split zone look, but a inside zone split look. You're running a play action off of that, and you're giving your quarterback 3 routes that are right in front of him. You read them high to low, and you get the read that you get that should open you up. So the blocking scheme is an inside zone path for everybody, and you're faking a inside zone to Jordan Waters, who will add into the blocking scheme. Now, here's what the route tree ends up looking like, okay? You have this receiver to the bottom of the screen on a big post. to clear out that backside safety. You have a drag coming across, which is Noah Rogers, and you have a comeback ran by Dakari Collins on the outside with Justin Jolie dragging across the formation because, again, this play is supposed to give you split zone. It's supposed to put the linebackers in conflict and make them think, oh, this is split zone. I know exactly what's coming here. The defense is running what looks to be cover two, okay? The corner to the top of the screen has a soft flat. The outside linebacker, or what may be, that's an outside linebacker. The outside linebacker or Mike linebacker, depending on how you look at it, has the hook curl. The other linebacker has the low hole. Again, this is cover two, so backside, they're mirroring what you see on the front side in terms of the nickel, outside corner, and safety. It's the same thing. Safety has deep half. The corner has soft flat, and the nickel has hook curl. Now, this is how the play is supposed to be read out. 1 to 2 to 3. For those of you who are listening and not watching, there's a circle with a 1 over Dakari Collins running his comeback. There's a circle with a 2 over Noah Rogers running the drag. There's a circle over 3. There's a circle with 3 inside it over Justin Jolie. Now, first thing first, these NIU linebackers, boy, I tell you, they really gave us a gift here, a special gift, because somehow 44, who was the linebacker that was closer to the wide side of the field, has ended up closer to closer to Noah Rogers than the linebacker that was actually outside that was most likely responsible for that hook curl zone. Now, as you look at this play, you need to count off 1, 2, and 3 and say, are they open? And if so, I hit them. Now, Grayson, based upon this look, right, do you think that Dakari Collins is open at number 1 out there?
I'd say yeah, but it would take a good throw to get it to him.
I would say maybe, possibly, not exactly sure. Let me tell you why. This cornerback, although his body language is reading that he's coming down, it is only like that because CJ Bailey is already in his passing motion pretty deep.
Yeah, true.
Before this, that corner was sinking. He originally came up to play the run and then immediately sank under that route, under the route ran by Dakari Collins. And I don't want to see what happens if I throw that. So if number 1 ain't open, you go to number 2. Is number 2 open?
Absolutely.
Abso-freaking-lutely. Not only is number 2 open, but he has a good amount of space to run after he gets this ball. Now, here's another thing that I want to point out in this play. I was told earlier this year by a certain fan base that if a defensive end climbs on a boot, it is some exceptional play that quarterbacks cannot beat. Grayson, is there a defender in our good friend CJ Bailey's face?
Right up in his grill.
Right up in his grill. Right up in his grill. And somehow, CJ Bailey, 18 years old, freshman, baby, in the words of Keith Sweat, he may be young, but he's ready. Okay? He finds a way to get his arm angle outside of the defender to where he doesn't have to leave his feet and throw over him. How interesting that is. Anywho, so 1 isn't open. You hit 2 with anticipation, and he can run all night long off of this pass. And that's exactly what happens here. Noah Rogers takes this pass because the corner continues to come down to Jolie. He grabs the ball, and he goes right around the bend outside of Dakari Collins, who was laying a pretty nice block here. I'd be lying if I said we didn't get away with a little tug, but we talked about the exact same thing in the last episode. Yes, it was a hold on Clemson that didn't get called. Yes, this was a hold on us that didn't get called. The refs give it, the refs take it away. It's life. Move on from there. But like I said, Justin Jolie takes away the corner who is in the soft flat. You have Noah Rogers dragging across with the ball in his hands. You have Dakari Collins coming around the block, or actually just turning around the block. And that's where you get what you get in terms of this play. That's how you get Noah Rogers making special plays, because you got him the ball in space. That's all you want to do in any offense. Get your playmakers the ball in space. And again, I say, if my quarterback can make a throw against a little pressure, against a little adversity, against somebody being in his face, that puts me in a great position, because this play doesn't happen without CJ Bailey making what is seemingly a basic throw in that, hey, I've got a guy dragging across. He's clearly faster than the guys that are chasing him. And with that in mind, I've got a little bit of pressure. I've got to find a way to change my arm angle to make this thing go where it needs to go, which he did. Phenomenal job, phenomenal play. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Okay. We need to get Justin. We do need to get Justin Jolie the ball more. I don't know why I got Justin Jolie on the brain right now, but we need to get our playmakers the ball more. We need to get Noah Rogers the ball more here. Dakari Collins, reward him for blocking like this. Get him the ball more. And like you said about Jolie, get him away from the line of scrimmage. He can make things happen downfield. So let him.
Whether it's CJ Bailey or Grayson McCall or even Lex Thomas, we need to see more of these plays where you get your playmakers into space like this. And I think a rollout for CJ was the perfect opportunity to do that. I'm shocked that we didn't see more of this style of play. I'm also shocked that this was the last time that Noah Rogers touched the ball. Keep in mind, this is early first quarter. This is the last time that Noah Rogers touched the ball all day long. To this day, baffling to me. You see in this play, if you go back and watch the video of it, what type of playmaker Noah is when he has the ball in his hands. He nearly took this thing all the way to the house, if not stepping out at I think it was like the 2-yard line. He is a dynamite athlete that does his best work in open space. This is a plea, a cry, a demand. Get Justin Jolie in space. Get Noah Rogers in space. Dakari Collins, Casey Concepcion, whoever it is. Make the easy throws even easier for your quarterback, and sometimes roll them out of the pocket just like this. It allows your playmakers to slip into open space, and then you explode down the rest of the field. I love this play design. I think it's very good for a young freshman quarterback to have this type of play in your bag. Why on earth do we not have more of these in our bag? That's the $1,000,000 question, but on this play, nonetheless, it was perfectly executed.
And another thing, when you get it to him in space, get it to him beyond the line of scrimmage. Get it to him down the field. I don't ever in my life, and when I say ever in my life, I mean this. I never in my life again want to see an NC State receiver with 8 targets, 4 catches, 4 yards, 6 yak yards. That is gross. 3 thumbs down. 3 of them. Don't worry, Grayson would have used this 4th, but he was covering his nose from the stench. 4 thumbs down. Get KC downfield. He will get open. Just let him. Trust him to do it.
Coming up next, we're going to round out our Wednesday episode looking at some early Wake Forest leans heading into the game on Saturday. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second sponsor of the day is FanDuel. NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. When you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out all the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the very same page that you're placing all of your bets. We're going to talk about the NC State spread in just a second, but you can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place just your first $5 bet. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started. Last couple minutes of our Wednesday show. We're going to start to look ahead here to this Wake Forest matchup. We're going to talk more about the Deacs on Thursday's episode, but we're going to start here on Wednesday looking at some early lines. Now, the line when it first came out on Sunday, I believe NC State was favored by 7.5. It has since gone down to 5.5. Now, this game to me, it kind of reeks. I think it's going to be a little bit of a rock fight, but I would love to be wrong. I want to see more offense from NC State because I think once you get into ACC play, you can't rely too much on your defense to go win you some games, because that's kind of the feeling where we talked about a Jack Chambers type playbook. No disrespect, but if you're not going to trust your quarterback to go out and make some plays, you're going to get even more predictable than you already have been, and you're just relying almost blindly on your defense to pull you out of tight spots all game long. I need the offense to show us something in this game. And NC State being only favored by 5.5 against a bad Wake Forest defense starts to scratch your head a little bit.
I'm not scratching my head at all. NC State has not shown up for any game against a Power 4 team this year. Objectively speaking, that's just not the case. And I get it. Pearson Company ain't walking through that door. Nico ain't walking through that door. Cade Klubnik and company ain't walking through that door. Avion Terrell, he is not going to be in Raleigh this weekend. Not that I know of, at least. So with that in mind, I understand that people are going to say, oh, this is a really, really bad team. You got to show me something. This NIU game, I believe this was the first game all year where we have not trailed, I want to say. And so with that in mind, I'm not mad at this line at all. I really and truly am not mad at this line. I get it. Wake Forest isn't a great team. Is Western Carolina a great team? Louisiana Tech, anyone? Great team there? Okay. Northern Illinois, are they a great team? And we won that game by 7 points off of, a Hail Mary that was intercepted. Lord forbid if we had some Virginia Tech Miami foolishness or, something along those lines happen. Who knows what could happen? So I think 5.5 is a very appropriate line. They say you get 3 points for being at home. So really, this is like a 2.5 point spread. If you're really thinking about it, honestly, I mean, that seems about right.
We've talked about it heading into last week's game, but I think even after the NIU game, NC State is 0-5 against the spread. I'd be lying to you if I told you I felt confident that they're going to beat Wake Forest by more than 6 points. I think this game, again, to me, it reeks a little bit. I said this last week, but I could also see it being the case this week. This game may come down to a field goal at the very end. I don't know if NC State has shown us enough on the offensive end that they're going to be cooking enough to build a comfortable lead against Wake. Another one of these games where if you let Wake linger, if you let them hang around for long enough, it could spell danger for the Wolfpack late in this game. So I do think 5.5 is a correct spread. It's probably very appropriate, all things considered. When you're looking at the over-under, I don't know. To me, it feels like a crapshoot. This could be a relatively higher scoring game if the defense kind of gets in some tough spots. It could be NC State wins by 17. Truly don't know. This is a massive head scratcher in my opinion. But if you're looking to lay something down on this game, I'd be looking into some player prop. I don't feel great about the spread. I don't feel great about the over-under. I said it last week, and I'm hoping to speak it into existence this week because it didn't happen. Justin Jolie, anytime touchdown. I'm going to pound the table every single week.
Stop taking the people money, Grayson.
Stop taking the people money. Every single week, responsibly. Tell me responsibly. Every single week until it happens. I'm going to lock my grandma in that big bird cage until we get Justin Jolie in the end zone. I'll set it last week.
Get Grady out the cage. Get Grady out the cage.
I'll say it this week. If it doesn't happen this week, I'm going to say it next week. Get Justin Jolie in the end zone. That is my one play that I'm confident in for this game.
I will say this. I'm not a betting man at all. I don't know if there even is a prop for this, but if there is one for Davin Van Sack, because of the way that they run their long meshes and all that, it's going to happen. I really and truly believe that's going to happen at some point in time. But Grayson's right. I wouldn't touch this game with a 10-foot pole if I was a bettor. That's just my opinion personally, but we'll see.
It smells. There's so many other games to possibly wager on for college football. I would personally stay away from this one. I don't know. Maybe you're more confident than I am, but this one smells to me. That'll do it for us here on Wednesday. As always, be sure to hit that like button. Drop your comments in the comment box. Tell us what you thought about our Hump Day hot takes, or maybe if you have some of your own, throw those down in the comment box. Tell us what you thought about Kenton's Locked On Look of the Week. Will getting CJ out of the pocket possibly help ignite the offense? Let us know. Anything else you have on your mind, drop that in the box as well. Mash that subscribe button, and we'll see you back here on Thursday to begin breaking down the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. More on Thursday, and until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.